Financial architecture is constraining Africa's development in 5 ways. First, it is not delivering the scale of resources needed to allow Africa to achieve its growth and development priorities. Africa faces a financing gap of $1.2 trillion through 2030 to finance its SDGs. Second, it is not providing climate financing at scale needed for Africa to adapt to climate change. Africa, which accounts for 3% of global emissions, suffers disproportionately from climate change, losing $7 to $15 billion annually, which is estimated to rise to $50 billion by 2030. Yet Africa faces a climate financing gap of $213 billion annually through 2030. Third, it makes orderly debt restructuring complex to achieve, as debt restructuring is disorderly, protracted, and costly, which poses serious risks for African countries facing debt distress. Fourth, it skews international emergency financial resources in favor of richer countries that least need the resources. For example, out of the $650 billion of special drawing rights issued by IMF, and that's a great work by Kristalina, Africa received just $33 billion, or roughly 5%. Fifth, it delivers uneven fiscal responses for developing countries during times of global shocks, as exemplified by the COVID-19 pandemic. While total fiscal measures taken to combat the pandemic was $17 trillion, or 19% of global GDP, Africa received just $89 billion, which represents 0.5% of global value. So how can the global financial architecture be made fairer? I wish to make 5 points. First, to scale up financing for global development, the private sector must be leveraged, especially the $145 trillion of assets under management by institutional investors. Multilateral development banks must therefore deploy risk mitigating instruments, including FX management, risk mitigation measures, to leverage the trillions of dollars under management by institutional investors into climate-related projects. Second, the global climate finance architecture must be simplified, better coordinated, and strengthen the capacity of countries to access climate funds. Contingency clauses should be in all loans, freeing up resources, freeing the countries from loan repayments when they face extreme climate shocks. Third, multilateral development banks must change their business models to deliver greater volumes of concessional financing for countries. And the G20 Common Framework on Debt Resolution should be fast-tracked. It's worked for a few countries, but we need to fast-track them to deliver debt restructuring and debt resolution much earlier and much faster. Fourth, to deliver more financial resources, multilateral development banks must be better capitalized. This requires increasing their capital base, especially through larger increases in paid-in capital, because that's what you need to be able to leverage private financing. Fifth, and finally, special drawing rights from the SDR donor countries should be rechanneled to the multilateral development banks as well. The SDR rechanneling to the MDB's model, developed by the African Development Bank and the Inter-American Development Bank, allows these SDRs to be leveraged by 3 to 4 times, while preserving the result asset quality of these SDRs. Now, what's needed now is for 5 donors to form a group and to rechannel those SDRs to Africa through the African Development Bank. And thank you, President Nana Akufo-Addo, for making that point again today.
We support that.
Thank you very much, Kristalina. And I want to thank Kristalina and her team at the IMF, because they've been working very, very closely with us on this, and I want to thank you very much for your leadership. You can just think about it. A $25 billion rechanneling of SDR through the African Development Bank will automatically become $100 billion for Africa. So the SDR rechanneling is at no cost to taxpayers in donor countries and has zero risk of loss. The SDR rechanneling through MDBs is the best model available to leverage and deliver the trillions of dollars that we've been talking about, needed for development to be accelerated. If you had a $500 billion SDRs issued for tackle climate change, if that's rechanneled through the MDBs that are essentially leveraging machines, and they can lend to private sector, will deliver $2 trillion in global development financing. Of course, this will complement the great work that IMF is already doing with the PRGT and the RST at the IMF. So just to conclude, Your Excellencies, to achieve a fair, a more just and equitable world, we must change the structure, the conduct, and the performance of the global financial architecture. Our collective future depends on it, so let's do it. I'm sure we can. Thank you very much.
Whether you're a seasoned investor or an aspiring entrepreneur, Limitless Beliefs newsletter has something for everyone. Join our thriving community and gain access to insider knowledge that can help you make informed decisions. From crypto to real estate, from tech startups to natural resources, we cover it all. Be at the forefront of Africa's business revolution and never miss an opportunity. Subscribe now to the Limitless Beliefs newsletter and let us empower you with the tools and insights you need to succeed. Limitless Beliefs newsletter, where dreams become reality in Africa's thriving business landscape.